Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another edition of Project Zainab Live. Today we bring you an emergency fundraiser live because we have faced many atrocities over the past, but this one by no means is any less. We will be discussing the Hazara bombing of the school in Kabul, Afghanistan. And with me today, we have guest brother Hashim Nourzadeh, who has been successfully running this campaign to raise funds, an emergency appeal for the Hazara community in Kabul, Afghanistan. Inshallah, we'll be discussing that. But today we also have a clip that I want you all to see, which, has been discussed by many of the scholars who will be actually talking in various languages to bring together their thoughts on this horrific murder, if you will, of over 80 school children, and most of them being girls. And, some of us have spent a couple of days enjoying celebrations with our families, but there are many of us who have found it incredibly difficult to, have a smile on our face since observing this atrocity. So we'll show you a clip of what the scholars have thought and their mindsets in reflection to this horrible and horrific violence that has occurred just last week. And then we'll have some words from Brother Hashim Nourzadeh in relation to this attack. So we'll have the clip now. Thank you.
حادثه تلخ و گریه‌آور افغانستان و شهادت این نوگنان و غنچگان مظلوم که بدون هیچ گناهی مورد تهاجم قرار گرفتند و پرپر شدند و خانواده هاشون رو داغدار کردند. لعنت خدا بر اون کسانی که جنایت رو تا این حد گسترش میدن و برای خودشون مباح میدونن که این تعداد بزرگ دختر نوجوان رو بیگناه به خاک و خون بکشن.
Unfortunately, these years, the Eid al-Fitr in these years is associated with the terrorist attack in Kabul, which resulted in the martyrdom and injury of about 245 innocent children. We extend our deepest condolences to all the mourning families, especially the oppressed people of Afghanistan. This barbaric crime and the killing of innocent children in the holy month of Ramadan hurts the heart of every human being with a conscience.
سببش چیه؟ که چون که این در مدرسه امام حسین سید الشهدا، مدرسه سید الشهدا، الهی به حق سید الشهدا از اینا انتقام بگیرد که این کار را انجام دادن. ولی این ما را کمزور نمی کند، ضعیف نمی کند. این یه نشانه خدا تبارک و تعالی برای ماها گذشت که شهید بشین، که انشاءالله به جوار اهل بیت می باشن و اون زخمی هایی که هست انشاءالله بهشون شفای عاجل بدهد. کسانی که هم می توانند کمکی بکنند برای این مسئله به این خانواده ها، یعنی از طرف دفتر حضرت آیت الله هم کمک های شده هست. اونجا یه مؤسسه العین هست، یعنی برای ایتام تأسیس شده جدیداً قبل از 4 ماه و از راه اون انشاءالله هم میرسد. شما هم مؤمنین اگر می توانین این کار انجام بدین، هرچی می توانین از طرف مؤسسه امام حسین با اونا به دادشون برسین. اون چی که انسان میتوند، مقداری که میتوند. شنیدم خیلی مؤمنین جاهای دیگه هم اهتمام کردن به این در اروپا. خدا تبارک و تعالی به شما توفیق بده و عیدتون مبارکه. ولی عید ما امسال عید تلخیه بسبب شهادت اینا.
I also would like to offer my sincere condolences to the families of those 50, 70, or 80, 85 schoolgirls who were mercilessly killed in Western Kabul in Afghanistan. This is a tragedy that we must all react to. I encourage all of you to contact your local government officials. Let them know that you utterly reject such acts of violence and ask them to do something so we can bring more peace and security around the world.
وفي نفس الوقت نعزي أخوتنا وأهالينا في أفغانستان لما قامت به المجموعات الإرهابية من تفجير مدرسة سيد الشهداء عليه السلام للبنات التي خلفت عشرات الشهداء والجرحى من بناتنا في هذه الحادثة المؤلمة. إذ نحن ندين هذه الحادثة الإرهابية البشعة ونسأل الله عز وجل أن يمن على شهدائنا بالرحمة والغفران وعلى الجرحى بالشفاء العاجل وعلى أهاليهم بالصبر والسلوان.
در حالی که همه مسلمین جهان از عید سعید فطر تکریم و تجلیل می کنند، متاسفانه ملت مظلوم افغانستان به ویژه شیعیان در عزا و مأتم نشستند. بنده به نوبه خود مراتب همدردی خود را با خانواده های عزادار و داغ دیده در سوگ نشستند شدیداً محکوم می کنیم. متاسفانه که بعضی از دولت‌ها در مقابل این جنایت هولناک سکوت کردند و از دولت افغانستان به طور قاطعانه خواستاریم که عاملان این جنایت را به سزای اعمالشان هرچه سریعتر برسانند.
اونها افرادی بودند که روزدار بودند، با لبان تشنه مانند مولایشان ابا عبدالله علیه السلام و شکم گرسنه و حالت روزداری اونها را به شهادت رساندند با وضعیت بسیار فجیع و ناگوار. ضمن عرض تسلیت به همه ملت افغانستان، بالخصوص به خانواده های عزیز و داغدار شهدا، از همه مؤمنین خداجو در سراسر جهان می‌خواهیم که برای غم شریکی و برای عرض تسلیت و دلداری خانواده های معظم شهدا ما اونها را یادی بکنیم و کمک های مالی خود را برای اونها ارسال بکنیم. هر کس به اندازه توانی که داریم دریغ نکنیم. اگر نمیتونیم از نزدیک با اونها صحبت بکنیم.
The brutal murder of some 85 innocent young teenage girls has shattered the lives of literally a whole community and threatens to bring them to their knees. They are crying out for your help. Let's rebuild these shattered lives and help restore their dignity. Afghanistan ranks amongst one of the poorest nations on earth. Remember, you're not making a donation, you are making a difference. Log on to www.ihfoundation.org.uk and make that difference today. كل يوم عاشوراء وكل أرض كربلاء.
Thank you for that clip. And those who've been watching would see that we had various ulama and scholars from residents of the UK and many others who have spoken about the pain that lingers not only in the Afghan community, but in our community also here in the UK. So, it's very difficult to actually, bypass any of these kind of atrocities that have happened. A few years back, you may recall that we had the same kind of atrocity in a village in Kabul, where even a 8-year-old girl was beheaded. I actually remember going to the protests outside the Afghanistan embassy at the time, where a whole village was literally massacred. These aren't stopping. These violences occur every so often. If they're not with the Hazara community in Afghanistan, they're happening every so often in Quetta, Balochistan of Pakistan. And I'm sure that Brother Hashim can actually shed some light on, the historical events, or gives us historical briefing rather, about the Hazara community and how they've fallen victim to these kind of persecutions.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Rizvi, and firstly, on this occasion of Eid, I would like to express my congratulations to all mu'mineen across the world. Eid Mubarak. But unfortunately, this Eid is not the same Eid as last year. For obvious reasons, there are many things going around in the world today: Palestine, Afghanistan, Yemen, Kashmir, all around the world. And it's about time we came to a resignation and acceptance that until such time that we ourselves take action, then I don't think we can expect anything from the politicians. They're far too gone, and they have restrictions and so forth. As far as the Hazara population in Afghanistan and in Pakistan is concerned, let me give you a brief outline which will give you an indication of the scale of the problem. Before the 19th century, 67% of the population of Afghanistan were Hazara. And this is not me making up numbers. This is actually in history. So what happened? Today, we only have the Hazaras making up 9% of the population. So from being 67% of the population of Afghanistan in the 19th century, they now have become only 9%. So what's happened? In brief, what's happened is there has been a concerted, premeditated, consistent persecution of the Hazaras since 1893, when the king at the time, Abdul Rahman, launched a campaign of persecution against the Hazaras. And this has continued till today. So it's been a legacy which has been passed on from generation to generation, from governments to governments, who have inherited this inbuilt discrimination against the Hazaras. So that's the brief history. And let's look at the Hazaras in Pakistan. The Hazaras had been living in Afghanistan since the 1880s, obviously, at least. And in fact, history tells us that as far back as the 13th century, when Genghis Khan was in Afghanistan, they were Hazaras. So the Hazaras have been an integral part and fabric of the society of Afghanistan. And how they had to migrate, they were forced into migration, a lot of them. Before the creation of the state of Pakistan, because obviously, we have a modern state of Pakistan. It was all India. And in fact, history tells us that Hazaras were very instrumental in the creation of the modern state of Pakistan. A close associate of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the founder of modern-day Pakistan, a close associate by the name of Qazi Muhammad Isa, who originally was from the Sheikh Ali tribe of the Hazaras, who was a close confidant of Muhammad Ali Jinnah. In fact, they studied together in London, and that's how they met. Qazi Muhammad Isa, born in Baluchistan, was amongst the first from his native province of Baluchistan to obtain a bar-in-law degree, and was a founding member of the All India Muslim League, who were instrumental in the creation of modern-day Pakistan. So wherever Hazaras migrated, they integrated and contributed to the social and economic progress of the place that they were living. So you can see from the history of the Hazaras that they are a very, let's say, forward-thinking people. They have great poets, great scholars, and their subjugation into poverty was man-made. They were forced to do jobs that other people wouldn't do because of the economic situation that they were forced into because of the persecution. And as I said to you in the beginning, originally the Hazaras formed 67% until the 19th century, until the persecution started, of the population of Afghanistan, and now they only form 9%. So you can see that history tells us, 2 and 2 make 4. You have to look at it logically. So that's a brief history. Obviously, I'm not a historian, but that gives you an idea of the scale of the persecution of the Hazara people. As far as religious makeup, I would say 99%, maybe 90%, 99% are Shia 12ers, Shia Isna Ashari. There is a small portion of Hazaras who are Ahl Sunnah, and also a small proportion, or very active proportion actually, who are Ismaili. And in the present day government, Hazaras have rebuilt Afghanistan shoulder to shoulder with all the other ethnic groups, and have been nothing but positive in their contribution to the fabric of Afghan society. And they are our honor, they are our iftikhar, and no doubt, wherever you go, if you go to Iraq, you'll see that Afghans who are working close to the Maharaja are very devout, very trustworthy. And in fact, the Maharaja prefer to give responsibilities because they know that the Hazaras are very trustworthy, they're very loyal to their deen, and we have an expression now in Afghanistan saying, and we probably have it in Urdu as well, they are Zabardast. They are very committed, devout Shia. So that gives you, put into context, the brief history of the Hazaras in Pakistan, who most of them, they live on the border town of Quetta, and who have also contributed to the formation of Pakistan. and also how they have been persecuted and had to migrate to Pakistan, what is today called Pakistan. It was India before. And the struggles that they have today, and the discrimination, the constant repeated discrimination over the years in Afghanistan, as well as Pakistan. Sorry, I can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry. What would you say is the duty for the governments, whether it be Pakistan or Afghanistan, in kind of protecting these minority Hazara groups?
Look, it's a question of human rights. It's not a question of responsibility. We all have a responsibility. The world is now a small place. You know, you could be living in Timbuktu and you could have relations with the rest of the world. And globalization has actually brought things forward, maybe in the past 20 years, maybe 1,000 times more than before. So yes, the governments of Pakistan, the governments of Afghanistan have a duty, because they are the governments, to protect their people. But unfortunately, due to all the, let's say, political maneuvers that are influenced by not Afghanistan or the peoples of Afghanistan or the government, they are influenced from outside. Let's be very straightforward and say that, you know, we've had maybe, I don't know, in the past, since 1979, since the invasion by Soviet troops, it was, you know, the Soviet Union. And I would say that in the struggle and resistance against the Russian invasion, the Afghan Hazaras in Hazaristan, or central Afghanistan, which is Hazarajat, played a major role in resisting the Soviet troops. And I would say that they had they played a major role in the downfall of the Berlin Wall. So, you know, the downfall of what was formerly the Soviet Union. So, you know, it comes to a question of, you know, like, is it payback time? Is it now time that people across the world recognized that, you know, how long can we live with the persecution of the Hazaras in Afghanistan
Absolutely.
and Pakistan?
Absolutely.
So it's now time that we realize that governments are not going to make a difference.
Yeah. You know, there's always this quote from the Quran that says, whoever so kills a person is as if he killed the whole of humanity. Do you think the Shia Muslim communities, whether it be the UK, US, or anywhere across the world, are doing enough to actually support the plight, you know, to kind of end the plight of the Hazara communities?
It's a very difficult question to answer, because of late there has been a lot more help from outside Afghanistan, from various organizations and Maraja, no doubt. The officers of all the Maraja have, you know, done a lot to help. But that word "a lot" in, let's say, in terms of what they could have done, you know, it's very easy for us to be critical, because obviously they have limited funds and so forth, and they have to look at the wider global Shia perspective.
Of course.
But I would say that in the past few years, they've done more than what they were doing. So that's an improvement. But one has to really look at the speed at which the onslaught of persecution has come about in the past 2 or 3 years. Then no, I would say not enough.
Of course, if you look at the figures, you know, we may be getting literally 75% of the correct figures of any of these tragic scenes, from these tragic scenes. And, you know, we can't exactly measure it up, but, you know, 80 here, 90 here, 120 here, 165 here is a very large amount, you know, from a population, percentage of a population. And no doubt there has to be a lot more that, you know, needs to happen. But we've given the account details. We would like people to put in their funds. And like you said, it's not a donation. It has to be about making that change possible for the Hazara communities itself. They need to be able to protect themselves a lot better. They need that security. They need to build their selves. They need to establish themselves. But they are not a minority. They are a part of humanity. That's what we need to see it as, and they should not be bypassed in any form of way. So we have given the details, Brother Hashim. It's on screen. They can look back at the video, but I will also give the details back on Project Zainab, inshallah, for anyone who wants to donate. And it's essential. Look, you're all going to be in your beds. You're going to, you know, there's a lot of siblings and, you know, loving families together, and, you know, you warm up together as a family. But think today, tonight, and in the future, there has been over 80 lives lost of young girls who went to the, and I find, you know, the name Al Shahada School a little bit ironic to say, but to be honest, you know, that's exactly what these children became. They became, you know, child martyrs of this tragic event. And it is our duty as part of humanity to actually help these parents, these families rebuild their lives. So please, please donate today generously, not because you're donating and it's part of tonight's fundraiser. It's because it's a haq. It's something that belongs to these people. It's something that these people can actually feel that, you know, there are people that love these people and care about their children. But, you know, I don't have much words to say other than, you know, I feel I'm grieving for these children, for these parents, these families. You know, they had a whole life ahead of them. And this is what we must think about, is that these are the thoughts that will be behind each family, that they also had so much thinking about, you know, of future prospects for their children. And it's all gone. It's all gone in a space of a bomb. And the person or the perpetrator who felt that that was the right thing to do, you know, we can, you know, blame whatever government, whatever, but at the end of the day, these lives are lost and these families are suffering, and that's what you need to take into account today.
If I could just say something here.
Please do.
1400 years ago, on the plains of Karbala, Imam Hussain alayhi salam, Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salam, looked to four corners of the world and said, Hal min nasri yansurna. Was it for the people of that time? No. He was looking towards the future. His supporters were not born at that time. But the message is this, that we have to say the same thing. Is there anybody out there to help? Is there anybody? And if we do not heed and say labbaik to the cries of those mothers and those daughters, who what was their crime? All they wanted was a decent education. And, you know, it makes one really, really, let's say, sad that these children were the future of our community, and they are our community. One of the problems we have is that, and I have to say this with the best will in the world, but it's a reality. We also, as Shias, we discriminate against the Hazaras. And that is a sad state of affairs, you know, and we also have to change. We also have to think about our attitudes towards our own brothers and sisters. You know, just as, you know, when we go to Hajj, we go around and make tawaf around the Kaaba. But for us Shias, we're not only going round the house of God, we're going round the center of Muhabbat, which is the birthplace of our Imam, the center of Wilaya. And these Shias, they are our brothers and sisters. And why do we say, oh, he's Pakistani, he's Iraqi, he's Afghani, he's I don't know, Bahraini? No, he is a Shia, and also he human being. Imam Ali alayhi salam says that there are two kinds of people in this world. They're either your brother in faith or your equal in humanity. So if nothing else, they are equal in humanity. So firstly, I'd like to, ask everybody, irrespective of your faith. And we have a saying in Afghanistan, or in Farsi, which says, Gar nadari din za alam la aqal azade bash. Even if you have no religion, be free thinking. Be free thinking. These are the words of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Even if you have no religion, at least be a free thinking person. So inshallah, the brothers and sisters, wherever they are, and it doesn't matter the amount. It's not the amount.
Yes, absolutely. It's
the fact that you've said, I will do something. That is the most important thing. The amount, if it's a pound, it's acceptable in the eyes of the Almighty.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brother Hashim. No doubt we'll have you on the program at some other point, inshallah. And maybe we could look forward to seeing how our brothers and sisters, Hazara brothers and sisters, are actually helping each other to rebuild their lives. But hopefully we can actually do the same as helping them, rebuild their lives, progress, and establish themselves a lot more than they have been able to do. Because I can understand that every time they probably stand up, they're having to fall down again. Let's keep them standing, and let's make our stand, inshallah, in solidarity with the Hazara community. They are our sisters and brothers. You're absolutely right. We have no, there should be no form of discrimination against any of our Shia brothers. And inshallah, we'll bring you back another edition of Project Zainab Live shortly, not exactly when, but inshallah with Sister Rebecca. We have another session coming up with, other few sessions coming up with Sheikh Hamza Sodagar soon, inshallah, with regards to marriage and different topics in relation to male and female and their roles within the marriage. That's also coming up, but please, tonight, I plead with our community, please, please, please donate generously. It's your duty, it's part of your humanity. Our Hazara sisters and brothers deserve just that. Thank you for watching, inshallah. And
I just want to say something briefly. When they go onto www.ihfoundation.org, if you just go to the donation page and press that, then the form comes up. It's very simple.
Okay, all the details, and they just have to complete that, and inshallah, you will receive remittance of their payment. So you had that. Go to the IHF page, look at the donation site, and then fill out the forms. Please, tonight, I plead with you again, be generous. Think about this. This is all about humanity. Let's help them build their lives all over again.
They can send an email with their name and their let's say amount, and we will send them a formal receipt. Yes. Thank you.
Inshallah. Thank you so much, Brother Hashim Nourzadeh, for coming on the program today. It was an emergency fundraiser, and hopefully, inshallah, we'll have many more fundraisers ahead. But tonight was a very special program in light of the event that happened last week, which was extremely tragic in the Hazara community in Kabul, Afghanistan. Thank you for watching Project Zainab Live.